talk about the format, the type of the way the pooling went, both in the format, the difficulty, meta, the custom maps, etc. And then we're also going to talk about level of play, like how what the players we were dealing with. And so you guys can remember, we just put this shit together. So you guys can reference all the past pools on one sheet during the actual podcast in case you need to refresh your memory. So
sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. All right. All right. Hello, everyone. Looks like we are live here. So we are here for the next episode of the Corsace saga. This week we are featuring Corsace Closed. We're going to do a full overview of the past couple of years. And I am joined today, I'm half/, joined today by Chiv, and Megatron is Bad, aka Josh, aka JMS8720. How you guys doing?
You got it.
I'm doing well. My team's in the tournament match right now, but they don't really need me anyways because I'm washed up as hell, so it's all good. So hopefully the pulling through. But yeah, I'm chill. I've been having a good day.
Are you guys winning though?
No, we are losing by like maybe 2 points or 1 point. So
And you're saying your team doesn't need you. I see.
dude, like I was not even supposed to play, and last minute I was like, I signed up for fun on the concept that I get eighth picked. I only play maps of easy. That was that was my entire thing.
Old Chip would have been put me in, man. Put me in.
Man. I'm finished, bro. Like I actually had the shortest OCQ of all time. Like, but yeah, that's we're chilling.
Go for my record, I see. I'm vibing
stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure that I'm just chilling here. Been a while since I've been involved with pooling, so just...
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since the start of Corsace closed. So again, it's been like we have had 3 successful iterations of the tournament up to this point, and I think there's a lot of interest in figuring out like how did this even come about. So I'll just kind of touch about this from an organizational perspective, and then we'll just get into the various years. So Corsace closed. If any of you guys had watched the previous, the first installment of the Corsace saga, where we went over OHC, OSST, whatever, you'll notice that like there was the OHC, which turned into Corsace Open, but for a while we didn't have the companion tournament. So that in the past that was OSST, and so this time we wanted another one to kind of accompany that, mainly so that we could show that we're doing more like throughout the year, other than just Open or like just MCA or whatever. So we resurrected the idea of a 1v1 tournament, and this time great visionary Omar Kamal, aka Vinxis, decided that he wanted something to kind of contrast the open branding pretty much. So it's like, all right, so he wanted he basically wanted it to be named Closed, and he wanted it to be a lot more closed as a concept. So we've kind of evolved the format as time has gone on. Of course, like all of you know this as the 1v1 invitational, where some of the best players in the world are invited, but it didn't always start that way. And in that, we can get into 2021. So I'll let you kind of explain the thinking on this one, Josh, because I believe this was your brainchild.
Yeah. So we did a 1v1 sort of invitation. I think the poolers were, it was like half custom, half not custom. And we wanted it wanted the whole tournament sort of like before Corsace Open, so we could try a couple of things and see if they worked out. And just, and then if they did, we can move them on to Open. I think the poolers were me and Legless, and we worked a lot with, poolers who are interested in working with Corsace in general. Mappers working with Corsace in general. And yeah, we decided to go for early stages to stay away from customs for a bit, give the mappers a little bit more time as well, and then scale it up to a grand finals that was dominant with customs. Um, any. So one of the things that we came across was that we noticed, I think, early in the stages, I think it was like the second week, that players doing quite well in our pools. We wanted to start again like a little easy for the top echelons of OSA players in the day, but we realized the map pools were still pretty gentle for them. So we were thinking maybe we can try scaling up later stages. And that led up to a no mod 1 star rating of around 8.3 stars for the grand finals. And it was something that wasn't commonplace around the time. And we sort of we pushed everything up in the later stages, just so a tad bit harder. And this history, it was quite a close match. I think we saw a tiebreaker on the grand finals.
Yeah, that's right. It was Flying Tuna and Utami, and it went to bracket reset on tiebreaker. It was some insane stuff.
Yeah, it was a great match to watch. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's what we did for Corsace Close 2021. I think, yeah, we thought this was a good idea, and then we continued it on for later years. So it's a good way to start out the tournament.
Yeah, so actually, I did want to ask, because they did basically, Corsace Closed is something pretty unusual in that it introduced the play-ins sort of concept. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, so play-ins. So we, so this is an invitational sort of tournament. We sent out an invite. I don't remember if we had qualifiers into play-ins. Do you remember?
Yeah.
We did.
So
we did.
Initially, we actually wanted this to be invitational, but due to some extreme time constraints, we had like open qualifier, and then we just made it really stringent. And the play-ins concept was kind of to play into that. I think it was something like top 8, like go like get buys, and they skip the first round, and then everyone else is in losers. But I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. I think we invited like 24 people or something around there. That makes sense. So yeah, we had qualifiers first, which was actually a step up from play-ins, which was right after. And then I think we gave seedings based on the results in play-ins, if I remember correctly. And that was still like a little bit under 7 stars, so still manageable, especially for today's standards. But and then we went on from there, I think.
Yeah. So that was cool, especially just because, like, I don't know if you kind of had to be there, but essentially the forum post was up and then qualifiers was up. Like, it was really ridiculous, because I still remember Corsace closed, like, it could have just not have happened in 2021. I remember pinging, like, Omar, like, every month, like, hey, is it happening? Hey, is it happening? Hey, is it happening? And then he's like, oh shit, we're out of time. And he's like, all right, let me just do this real quick. And put out the tournament, and that led to a train wreck in slow motion, but still managed to finish, so.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for first iteration of such a project, I think, yeah, like I guess we should have expected a little bit of organization to be a little bit hectic, but yeah, I do remember the customs being slightly rushed. We were on a short time scale before Corsace Open had to be prepared for, and etc. Yeah. I think it turned out quite well, given our preparation and the amount of time we had. But yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about Impact. So Chiv, I know you were around the scene at the time. I think you test played back in Corsace Closed. So what was your impression of all of this? Because it's like this is something different. Like, to me, history repeats itself, but maybe to you, this is something like, holy crap, we've never seen anything like it. So
yeah, so like back in 2021, I was almost completely new at staffing. I think the biggest thing with Corsace's Rising was not only the abundance of customs, but they really pushed towards having definitely even like kind of inspired OWC to some extent, where they pushed on having more custom maps than regular maps, as well as pushing that skill cap to that next level, especially with Corsace Closed. I remember test playing for it, and I was like, holy crap, these maps are actually so hard. Like, I was doing like a couple of replays for like I remember like the final score and semi-final score, and I got maybe like 300k, and I thought it was like a great score for me at the time. And like as a playtester, like I thought it was really cool how kind of opened my mind to pooling, where it was like, seeing everyone push these limits was really, really interesting overall. And honestly, not much else to really say about that. I think that it was a really enjoyable experience for me back then, and it definitely helped inspire me to contribute to the year after.
Yeah, that's good stuff. No, go ahead.
We definitely had a little bit of a hard time searching for test players for especially the later stages. For the people who weren't already like into tournament, of course. Like 300k on some of these grand finals maps would have got you a top 3 player, for example. Yeah.
Yeah, shoutouts to my boy Recti. So Rectagon was, I think, one of the highest skills cap test players there, and he contributed quite a bit. So, yeah, actually, on the custom map stuff. So this one there was custom fever in the air around the time. So this is like Corsace Closed 2021 was like. It just followed Open 2020, where everyone like was holy shit, custom maps and like OWC and all of that. So there was still like a lot of interest in that, and it wasn't exactly settled territory. So people were kind of branching out in all kinds of ways. Map poolers didn't really know how to handle them for better or worse. And we got some really like compelling maps out of that, and also ones that added to the holy shit factor in all kinds of aspects. So there's some good and some bad. I think I'm sure that like on the actual like on the screen, all of you guys have seen this wild tech map by Celine, which was just like unholy in the grand finals. Like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are you guys? What are some maps you guys remember like that really stood out to you from that iteration?
Am I allowed to talk about non-custom maps or only custom maps? Curious.
Honestly, both. Like hell, like it's just picks, man.
Well, I already talked about it. It's also been playing on the stream earlier, but Michael WAV is probably one of my favorite gaming maps of all time. I think that map by Yasuo is a complete understanding of having these multi-skills and nomad where people used to have like only precision tests or only rhythm tests. Like when it comes to like nomad, some people put like this stuff like Devious Panda, like super burst speed, which is like not a big fan of. But with Yasuo, like I think Michael.wav is a different type of rhythm where it's like you need rhythm control, not really burst reliant, but really you understand the song, and I think it's a really cool pick because of that. Besides that, I remember one pick that I think is actually pretty underrated, but I don't remember if it was a custom. I think it was an Exarius map that was in Hard Rock 2, and it was called Balloon. Or it was called Amato Petra by Balloon. And the map was literally cross-screen jump test. It's actually so funny when I was test playing it, but I actually personally liked it a lot. And I thought, nobody plays it because that map is kind of outdated now. But I thought those two maps are kind of ideas of, maps that really kind of push forward the meta and testing skill sets that are kind of unheard of instead of like your regular precision map or your regular like one skill set Nomad 6. I guess lastly, for a map that I can think of that tested what kind of is like a slot pooling map where it's like specifically was meant to just test that one slot. A good example, oh I lost it, sorry. Where is it? There was a normal one that I remember that they used by Skytuna, and it's called Shinko wa it's some Kyosho Koden and Yakuboshi Rockets map. And that's like an idealistic number one where there's a good amount of stream balance, good amount of flow, as well as a lot of jump consistency, and I thought it was a perfect pick for the pool. So it was really cool how, some slots they were able to push the limits and they were still able to keep the rest of the pool consistent in difficulty.
I see. Yeah, also that star rating is a meme. I think that adds to the Sky Tuna factor. Anyways. What you got, Josh?
Yeah, for me, this is definitely not because I've seen these maps recently in recent tournaments. I think Dustwind, Nomad 2, the one that we saw in, I believe, Roundtable's Grand Finals.
Yup.
I remember we asked, I think it was Hamu and Rami and Maki Donalds. We asked them for a custom, they collab, and they spit out this Nomad 2 map with a very cool song, and I almost thought it was just too hard for finals, but we couldn't. It was pretty hard to decide, honestly, and the map was not ready for its time. I feel like now it's like well over 8 stars, I think, something like that. But that was a pick that I remember that it was a custom that was made in very short notice and turned out very, very well. And I'm glad to see it getting some recognition that it deserves to its present day. Another map that I can sort of remember was the /VTuber map. Remember this?
Oh fuck yeah, I remember
It just
that.
got pulled. It just got pulled actually, in 4WC this year or 4WC last week.
Oh shit.
Wow. Yeah, that map was like almost like an anomaly for its time. Like the alt patterns that I remember in this map were like so awkward that again, it was also just like a hard map to like judge difficulty on at the time. Like I think 2021, I don't know how many PP reworks, star rating reworks ago that was, but like it has a low star rating for the pool it's in, and it was hard to decide, and still a very unique map for what it offers. And I just remember like it was a crazy cool map and fits really well into the semifinals pool. But yeah, and again, you mentioned that Celine Noma 3 in the grand finals.
Oh
The
god.
all-slash tech map that pretty much no one at that time could play well. And yeah, I hope we see some good scores in the future. But yeah, those maps definitely come to mind.
That was definitely a map of all time. Yeah, there was just a lot of maps like when I think of like impacts too, I remember like the USA tryouts that came out that year was almost directly influenced by this pool, right? So like you had micro.wave like settings edited for as like a free mod pick in that tryouts pool. You had like the the /VTuber thing, like that was in that pool as an alt map, stuff like that. There was some other just like standout stuff. I think right now like the speed pick, like for the speed pick, the Nomad 5 for a while has been a lasting promise. So like I know Xylus like talks that map up a lot when we talk about like really hard speed maps. It's like I pooled with him and he was like, oh, if it's not harder than this, it's not hard enough. So I'm like, wow, so that's your benchmark as far as speed. Although funnily enough, I don't hear too much about Ball Sniffer in that regard, but I'm pretty sure that's because that just leveled everybody, like
Yeah.
everybody all the time. It was not even close. I think a personal shout out, like one of the more underrated picks, was Zenobi Kill. Was like Finals Hard Rock 4 by Fleslin. Like that was his pop off map. Pretty sure that's the best map he's ever made. And it was really special. So, and yeah, I think the like as far as the non-custom picks, some of the ones that really like stood out to me, Diddy Kong versus Dogadon, which was like that was the map that got me into playing like low AR like weird stuff. So it's nice to see like 09 maps making it into map pools in 2021. Like that was insane. And then Technical Master, like for sheer shock factor of like holy crap, dude.
Like why can these players not play?
Yeah.
Not that low.
There was just like for me it was like I've been like me and Josh, just for the viewers context, like me and Josh go way back to like playing tournaments and like pulling stuff together, like so it's just like I see a lot of inside jokes with this, and it makes me feel all warm inside, like I see the one that has the diff name You Have Tiny Slider Wrecked, like holy crap.
Oh man, that's an old.
It's a funny map.
Yeah, there's a lot of character in this pool. Like that's something you don't see too much of in a lot of pools. So this one definitely had some character. And it was like the mappers obviously contributed a great deal, as well as the poolers just with some of these like wild picks. So. But yeah, so I think that's 2021 in a nutshell. So 2022, like that one, I'd say this is where people we looked at the feedback, because obviously 2021 were we liked a lot of stuff in it, but some people were also like WTF, like there was a lot of shock factor of like some people got really mad about certain things, blah blah blah. Anyways, we changed some stuff around. Josh, Legless, retired for a bit. They came to save the day, and that was that. And 2022, I'd say, was bringing it. First of all, it was actually an invitational this time. No, I think it had a qualifiers, and we started to use the qualifiers more for seeding. Just in general, but that's the only thing. Like everyone obviously had qualified that was invited. And then basically as far as the actual pooling, I'll turn to Chiv as he and Alex Dark were really the ones taking the lead on the pooling in 2022. So, what can you tell us there, Chiv?
Yeah, so Corsace Open 2021 was probably my first big project besides Yuki Aim, and it was definitely a complete change in effect because I never actually worked with a lot of these concepts before, just like I talked about in the previous one. Never really explored stuff like customs in the smaller tournaments I pulled for, and also just never worked with such a big team or such a big project in general. So it was a lot to take on at the start, and I think it showed because I do think looking back, the pool was definitely not my best work, but it was really eye-opening experience for me at the time, and definitely think that we put in an ungodly amount of time into it. Especially Alex also pulled through a lot with Deca, and honestly, like when it came to custom management, I still really feel like I didn't really do anything at all on that side. I think I was much more oriented on making the picks happen that were not custom. Because looking back at the pulls, I'm recognizing a lot of these maps as stuff I still pull to this day because I just enjoy those maps a lot. But yeah, I've actually. Do you want to mention that? I think for people that are looking towards getting to new and getting a starter pooling, I think custom management is actually one of the hardest things to do, and it was something that I completely underestimated at the time. With no mapping experience and barely any map point experience at the time, kind of just jumped into it. Didn't even know how to say a map was bad. Besides, I thought it played bad, and even now, like I still don't have that good mapping experience. But like after some time, like I kind of understood how maps are supposed to look and how maps are supposed to play. So I think it's important that those base fundamentals are at least determined before these things are you at least try and pull these tournaments.
Yeah, that ties actually really well into you mentioned Deca, so a lot of people don't realize that so Corsace closed 2021 just for contrast, like there was really no like mapping QA in the sense of there was I would look at some maps if people pinged me, but I think it was more or less it was test played and mappers were kind of free. As we moved into the later years, there's a lot more structure placed and more emphasis placed on map quality. However, it was a bit different in the sense of Corsace closed in 2022 was more supposed to be more trying to be used as a proving grounds for Corsace Open 2022. So it's kind of like used as a feeder tournament. But people were trialed essentially on these higher difficulties. It's like, all right, what do these maps look like? However, something I will also note is just depending on just like the level of prestige that the mappers you're working with generally, that will influence how much the QA aspect really needs to be leveraged, right? So it's like you get someone like Devious Panda who's like winning contests left and right in there, you probably don't need to QA them. Someone with no ranked maps, you're rolling dice. So it's kind of like that. It's like there's obviously a huge wide spectrum between those, but something to really note is how Corsace Close 2022 had a lot more focus on the QA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a critical role that now is being implemented in not only Corsace, but also implemented directly into OWC as well this year. I think it's really important to have, and it's shown as not every map pooler has the most experience with making maps.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, philosophically, like, you mentioned, like, this was obviously one of your first works, and you're like, oh my god, I would never pool like this now. What was kind of, like, the mindset behind some of the pooling decisions in this?
So, pooling meta is definitely, I think with Corsace, we still were pretty standard on pooling meta. If you look, it's still, like, Precision Hard Rock 2, kind of mechanic-heavy Hard Rock 1, and most of these pools very standard normal 1 as well, so it wasn't really anything too limit testy. But I do think on the flip side, we did explore a lot of new concepts as well. With even more unhinged Nomad 6s, as an example, with Grand Finals we had, what was it called? Conflict by IO Exception was kind of a crazy map. And same with New Game by Anna Apple. I think those two are by far the two most estranged maps in the pool. And it was like we really took that idea of making Corsace Close one of these like limit test tournaments where you test new ideas instead of just being like a really high skill ceiling tournament. I think in 2023 it showed even more.
Yeah, I think like looking back at the tournaments, like one of the most striking differences between this and 2021 was, I'd say, it's like you guys scaled down the difficulty a bit, or leveled it, kept it the same, etc. And you really focused more on that skill expression in that sense. Like, again, I was like, when it came to maps that stood out to me, that was gonna be my first one I mentioned. You know, like semifinals, No Mod 6, like new game. That map is insane. Like, one of a kind, basically irreplicable. But man, like, especially on the QAing side, like what I like to say is that unique maps take a lot of work. Because if you like, it is tempting for poolers to focus on, that's it. You just got to get this pool done. So you got to focus on getting the maps through, and uniqueness be damned, because you have a lot of maps to get through. But this is one of those that, like, if you want like uniqueness in your pool, you do have to work for it. And there was a lot of late nights spent with this one, right?
Oh, absolutely. Pretty much a lot of my weekends were dedicated to this. And honestly, one of my biggest problems at the time was I was taking on too many projects at once. So Alex actually put in a lot of work, and same with Deca, and I feel like looking back, I didn't really I could have done a lot more, especially with the custom management, because like I just really didn't work almost at all, besides like saying like maybe I'm downplaying myself a bit here, but I don't remember exactly giving too much feedback on some of these maps. But I do think it was a big struggle overall for me to balance my time.
Oh yeah, I mean, we cannot understate Alex Stark 69's role in all of this. Like, he drove things pretty far forward. Like, I remember from what I'd read with the chat logs, it was kind of like Deca had a much stronger involvement in the earlier phases, which kind of makes sense. You're picking the mappers, you're trying to see who's good and who's not, and then especially with the carryover role into open. But then it's like it's like I think Alex really had to be the one that got things through to the end. I think Chemo, by the way, was also, this was his first time. He was hosting Corsace Close. That was his first tournament that he ever had to host, because we forced him to, essentially. And then he was focusing a lot on the map pool stuff, making sure, keeping you and Alex honest. He loves to do that. So.
But I do think, Corsace was probably one of the biggest milestones or stepping stones for me to really get to where I am right now. So, cannot be more appreciative of it for sure.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff here. Like, at least I'm thinking too on the standout maps. I had a hard time selecting, actually. But again, like we already talked about new game. I think I'd mentioned. I can't even remember. Like there was some competitive stuff. But I know I like the Yaspo No Mod 5. I don't know if we're showing that, but I know I liked that one. From a pooling perspective, Finals DT2, the Lucian DT, was probably one of the best DT picks I've seen in terms of really grilling the stamina. So, like, I always have this, you have this pet peeve sometimes with, like, DT2 that, you're trying to hit that mid speed range stamina, but they tend to drift really high later on, so it's like, okay, well, if you can't hit 250, you're fucked. And then that starts to collude a bit with the No Mod 5 roll, typically, where No Mod 5 is supposed to hit that 240, 260 range. But this one is like, we brought the BPM down and we just raised the chains. Like, it was like, you have actual death streams at 236 BPM. And it's just like, it really brings me back to like those days where we were like, oh, you don't have stamina unless you can, DT this stream map that has like thousands of notes or whatever. So.
I think this map was in USA's 40C trials this year, so yeah, definitely a map that's seen impact later on. And yeah, I'm surprised looking at that VPM and how could it be this hard? It's crazy.
I always like to when I think of that, I'm like, okay, well, it's a hard pick where this is the only way you can get Utami to break combo on like a DT2 basically. So. Yeah. So, there was some there. I'm just trying to look through some of these maps. Do you guys have any standouts?
Oh, like one of my favorite maps. I was really glad I got the pool here. It's called Stoicism by Disco. classic aim precision map in grand finals for Hard Rock 2. Probably my favorite pick I did in that tournament. Really fun overall. Besides that, another really cool pick that we did was called Firmament, that I took from Mazelius' tournament, and that map was fucking sick as hell. That's what I would say. It was a bunch of Turkish mappers collabing, and I thought it was a really interesting flowing map. I remember watching Akoro versus Whitecat on it, and I think Akoro actually won. It was really a hype overall. Besides that, some of the other things that people might know are stuff like DDM by Down, where he really started pushing towards his own songs, which is really cool. Kind of a concept that has been seen now extremely frequent, but was just starting at the time. I think DDM might be one of his first maps that kind of have that style. And then probably the last example that I could bring up that I still think is good is Pumpin' Jumpin' by RTYzen. I think that is an extremely good alt map. I know a lot of people hate it, some people love it, but that is a good example of being an overall extremely consistent map with multiple different kinds and being a banger as well. And one of my favorite maps is obviously RTYzen, finally getting so much love now. That was one of the breakthrough maps after his... I remember directly DMing him. I was like, hey, could you make a map for Corsace Closer? I really want you to make one. And he's like, okay, sure. And he made it. And it was really phenomenal. So it was awesome.
Love to hear that.
Please apply. Like, I'll do a huge vouch for you. And then when we talked out, I was like, yeah, like just get him and like trust me, like he'll pop off. But yeah, that's pretty much it for I guess like the standout maps. Anything else? Maybe Imitate by Fisky I also really liked as a pick. Really fun control aim tech pick that we brought out. And Second Warning, a map by a Polish mapper with a bunch of Ws. I mean, he's a Polish or Russian actually. Was actually using OWC last year as well. Got to see that map being consistently used as a really strong tech map.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Josh? I know you weren't super active, so if you don't remember, it's whatever, but maybe you saw something, right?
Yeah, just looking through. Like in qualifiers, you put 9 of Fire DT2. Like, that's
funny.
It sticks out, and it's just like, hey guys, you're playing Corsace 2022. This is what you're getting into. And yeah, it's awesome.
You're 9 of Fire.
I know this is a history episode, but you know, that's kind of like the same thing with that kind of links back to the Corsace Open 2023 qualifiers that we just put out. It's like the qualifiers really should tell you guys what you're getting into, and we'll see this even too with Corsace Close 2023 as we talk about that. But yeah, I always approve that concept. What else you got?
I was gonna say Stoicism if Kiv did it. I was like, wow, that is here. That's a tournament map now. Wow.
Such a great map.
That's a great map. Yeah. Anything else? No, not really. I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm noticing though, it's kind of similar to a 2021 format of just like you have some old classics in there and completely new customs. Interplaying very well in one map one. I'm very glad this sort of idea persisted through the years. So, I mean, yeah, Chiv, like you may say you're inexperienced. This is great.
Thank you. I
agree. Like even the players, for example, they all loved it. Like I remember like. There's some with some pool feedback channels, everyone goes in, but like this one was just like it was one of the cleanest ones I've seen. So it's like the only cleaner one I've seen than this was like a Knicks Winter Cup, but like that's bulletproof pools there. So yeah, actually, so I did want to put some attention towards a couple other picks. I think like the mapper favorite was definitely like round of 16 no mod 3, so that was Seros's Goddish. So that one was like one of the most loved ones among mappers. I think that was the standout. Partially because everyone loves alt maps, but also like it was a pretty solid map. And then I also have to point out the Yaspo no mod 5. I'm Yaspo pilled, so I gotta shill him where I can. That one was cool. But also the Dota Grand Finals Hidden 2. That one was like I hadn't seen that map. It was a reused custom from like Coffee Hispanic, but I was like that map was like so cool on every level. Like holy crap! One of the coolest low AR maps I've seen that year, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Love Dota maps.
Yeah.
But, it was good. It was a good tournament overall. I was pretty satisfied.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also, we did have a custom song in Corsace Close 2022, just in case anyone forgot. That was crazy. Like someone just donated a song. They were like, I want to release this," and then it's like, "That's it." And we revived Winber. We got Winber to come out of the grave and map. Like that's insane. That was like okay. It wasn't even the only mapper we revived. Like we had evil Elvis slash Junzan slash I guess in this one he was called Nateke Desu, but like we had him come back and make an alt map. Like it's like creator of Condemnation Wings comes back, maps the song from the same artist, makes it even more unhinged, and it's like tournament length. That's okay. Like all right.
One of the
I was actually
pioneers
curious
of
if actually
Slumber.
he actually came back for it.
Yeah. And of course, gotta love the nods in. So this was definitely my doing. I remember like at the grand finals, you guys were like, "Oh man, we're struggling to fill in these last picks," and I'm like, it's time for the Corsace Open 2020 throwback. So we got a couple of those picks in that grand finals pool. So, like what was it? AR changed version of I think it was the group stage or no round of 16 round of 32 something like that, one of those low round alt maps that Yospo made. I suggested a rate change for a DT4 there, so
Yeah, that's fucking sick.
yeah, gotta love those throwbacks. But yeah, I think overall, like that was 2022, and then we got into 2023. So basically, the way I like to always look at these three tournaments is like 2021. It's like, all right, this is the new thing. Like we're going to, like we said, like Josh spoke on in the past. We're gonna go and push that like ceiling pretty much. Like we're gonna raise the ceiling. It's like players can do much more than we've been throwing at them. So it's like scale up the difficulty. 2022 is more like, okay, like that was kind of unhinged. It was cool, but it was unhinged. Let's like get it. Let's scale it back a bit. Let's get the quality up. Because it's like consistency of quality, not exactly 2021's strong point, but 2022 was a lot stronger in that regard. So 2023 though, again, like we've actually had like three different teams like creating all of these. So you had a bunch of different flavors, and I think like when I think of 2023, I think of Roundtable's influence. So last year, Roundtable, shook the entire community with its over the top emphasis on spectacle to a level we hadn't seen before. Like we'd had skills like skill cap show matches, we had stuff like Yuki Aim, which was just like balls to the wall. You get good players, and then they do all this crazy stuff. But I think Roundtable was really where the idea of like pools as content really came into influence, and I think that had a strong effect on 2023. Or at least that's what I've heard from them. So, what do you guys think of what you saw of 2023, if anything at all?
I mean, like I completely agree. I think that the most important thing is that people realize that you can have this new type of pooling where it's like people pull like really over like well-known hype maps has actually been doing very well, not only for Roundtable but also for even OWC, Circle Circuits, Corsace, like all these huge tournaments with like multiple open rank players. Like it's a popular concept now.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I'm also starting to see here like a lot more maps that are like favored from the public. Like high star rating, high skill ceiling maps that people who might not necessarily be into tournaments would already know pretty well. So that's definitely an interesting change. And I think also for the good one, like I think the shift into both the audience being able to know these maps as well would help for viewership, and I think it's a good change.
Yeah. It's definitely a pretty interesting one. For me, it's like, all right, I'm kind of like one of those more purist, like competitive poolers in a sense. So for me, it's like a bit weird, but I also acknowledge that pushing like high level competition all the time is like that is not exactly what the viewers want to see. And frankly, like that system causes hell with everyone that's working for it. Like, you know, when you have to go and you have to make like 10 iterations of a pool or on a single pick just to get something like that works, it's like you really know and feel the pain of like trying to hit those like ever increasing competitive standards. So something that like kind of is like, all right, we're gonna step back. Like, why are we actually even making this? We're trying to make content, right? So, and then just like just going in that direction. I think some of that is really good. That said, I also think that you need some sort of a balance. So like, you know, we look at some of the like custom maps, and it's like we remember these strong picks. Like we've worked with them, we've like seen them like coming into creation, but like a lot of the audience isn't gonna remember them. And we've kind of acknowledged that. But like, so how do you engage the audience? You gotta go with stuff they know. So you know that you can get a lot more competitive integrity with some of the custom maps. So you have some of those, and you also have some of the audience favorites, which they're going to be spikier. They're going to be less consistent. They might not test the skill set as well. They're going to blur some stuff in, but you know what? The audience knows it, and yeah, the player suffers a bit, but you know, you're here to play. You know, you don't decide the arena.
Yeah, and honestly, like players also enjoy playing these. Like they're usually pretty fun if they're iconic. Like people aren't picking like super trash maps like the big black or anything, but like picking stuff like Corsace, like Astro Sexy. Like they're still pretty fun maps overall.
Stop giving them ideas.
Oh no! Look, if you see Big Black like in a pool, that's gone too far. But like, look, I'm just saying, I have seen a draft of a pool that they pulled a Big Black. It wasn't the Big Black. It was like it was like Sotark's one or something, and I'm like, man, this is sus. It was even more sus because they wanted to do it instead of a low AR pick, so I was like really mad about that. But
yeah, they're doing too much, but it's okay.
yeah, but yeah. So like we talked a little, we glazed a bit about the players, like you know, with 2022, but like 2023, I feel like we got like a lot of fresh faces, and at the same time, like a lot of existing like sorts of like players. So like, what would you guys say about the like level of play difference between like 2022 and 2023? Do you think that the players had scaled up quite a bit, or more or less we're leveling out at that, you know, high end as far as you know, the player skill? This is, of course, with closed invitees, you know? Like, this is not, like, general population or anything.
I think I can say, like, just straight off the bat, the tradition of dewooting has pushed the ceiling of what can be achieved for the speed skill set quite far. So, like, noticing this sort of jump in the skill cap from, like, 2021, 2022, up to 2023, it's not surprising to me, and I think it's warranted.
No, absolutely. I think that overall player skill is drastically increased. Whether there's some older tournament players really stepped up, you know, you see players like Matthew, players like Zudinator, Vectagon, kind of older names still doing very well, and these new players like Ristel just popping off every match. MCY4, another very good example of a very strong player. But you know, like as the game keeps saying, you know, game population increases, same with skill player level will increase as well. You know, it's just gonna exponentially get harder and harder. We saw a 10-star tiebreaker this year.
Oh god! Wait, where do we see a 10-star?
It was the grand finals. I can't even 10 or 9-star. It's a 9-star, 10-star, but it's way higher than anything. Yeah,
9.4. Yeah,
like that is just you put that in 2021. Nobody's even dropping maybe like 200K. People like Ristel and Emmerich, though, like they can do well in it now. Like that's just a skill difference now at the very best.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So,
go ahead.
It's almost like a feedback loop. Like these mappers create harder and harder maps, and the players just improve on them over time naturally, and mappers have to just create harder maps, and there goes the cycle.
It's like people get better.
Yeah, so like I still like remember like going back to 2021, like I still remember like it was a big deal back then to try to get like it was basically once you scaled up, like the maps were not there yet. So like you actually ended up with like a lot of like balancing issues, like of things blurring together. And then 2023, like you don't notice the same like degree of identity mismatch that you ended up having in those early years. And I think like the skill ceiling is one reason. Like the maps just started to exist at that difficulty, or were able to be brought into existence. So like not underplay the fact that, you know, the grand finals in 2023 has a lot of customs. I'm pretty sure it's like half custom or something crazy like that. So
Yeah, that's wild. But I think yeah, it's really cool to see, you know, how Corsace Codes actually played a direct involvement not only in improving the tournament scene, but also Corsace as a whole as well. I think it's been a very high effort side project, different from the main one, and it's really cool to see how it's been going over time.
oh yeah, for sure. So I do want to point out a couple of you know, standouts in the pool, but not for the reasons that people may expect. So like for example, semifinals DT4. So that was actually a map that we were making actually for Open 2023, which obviously you guys are about to see. But it was kind of too hard, and we didn't know how it was going to end up difficulty-wise. So we're just like, we tossed it to close. We're like, this map is really good, but we can't use it because it's hard, and we don't know if we're going to be able to get it to the open difficulty range. So like, let's see what the closed guys can do with it. And you know, so that was really cool. And the other thing I think was, I'm trying to remember the other one. The other thing, that Grand Finals No Mod 1, I basically can't think about Corsace Close 2023 without thinking about that Grand Finals No Mod 1. Like, that thing was like, the meme game got turned up to 12. Like, there was no 11, just straight to 12. Like, this thing was 9 stars local or something, and then it just... everything about it is ridiculous. The whole, like, Secretary Son storyline, like, led up to this. Like, it was... I don't have words for, like, what was going on with the meme game with Grand Finals No Mod 1. I think it had nutshell sliders in it, too. Like, oh my god.
It's all in math, so it's gotta be funny.
Oh god, man. Whew. Yeah. Something else I wanted to note, actually. So, despite, like, the speed, like, we talked about the wooting driving the skill cap. So, I think in this tournament, we mainly saw that in the DT category. The No Mod 5s actually did different things with speed. So, like, the Grand Finals No Mod 5, you know, obviously it was too easy because there's no custom mapper that can make one hard enough, clearly. And then it's like... but like the round before, it's like, you know, we had everything will freeze. Like that was the No Mod 5. And like before that, it was like a 2-7. It was like a diff on Lasting Promise. It was, you know, there was a custom like at some point in quarterfinals, but you know, it was just basically Xenobeat at 260 BPM. It's like, all right, that's so No Mod 5 more or less stabilized, and I think that's actually more of a limitation of the songs more so than player skill, because it's like what. Basically, people don't produce that high BPM of stuff very often, or it starts to get really limited. So you actually have a thing where people have been mapping all of these custom, like, No Mod 5 type maps for a while, and they've really drained the availability of the songs based relative to, like, the demand for those types of picks. So I see, like, the BPM, like, dropping, or just that slot even disappearing altogether and like ending up into DT in some aspect to be a more likely outcome in the future, just because it's really hard to do that. Meanwhile, DT, we can keep pushing. Like, we will definitely like be able to keep pushing speed in the double time category. So
Yeah, I completely agree.
I'm scared for what's coming next. But
yeah. So yeah, any standouts as far as picks for you guys?
Bombs over Baghead is so sick. The swirly map, that's such a fun No Mod 6. So I watched everyone get 100k when they played it though. Maybe a little too hard.
Yeah, he was trying to basically do like new game V2, but didn't have the test play support, I think.
It's definitely a little out of the skill set reach, but it was still a very fun map to watch. A banger.
Yeah.
Did-
Go ahead, Josh.
Oh, did Vinxis vouch for just the late DT? I can't think of anyone else who would.
No, I'm pretty sure they did this though because they knew that Vinxis would love it. So
I see.
gotta show some love, like your boys Miles and Aiden. They just showing that love.
Oh, now that you say it, yeah, that makes total sense.
I'm curious to see
Yeah,
who
I mean,
next year.
So we're not sure, but it's looking like Aiden is gonna be there, probably, like maybe. They're still very tentative. So we'll see who actually like sticks around and does Corsace close, but. Yeah, because the thing is, it's like, again, like, there is something that's like, it has been different teams a bunch. A part of this is just because it's been, we're trying to, like, ideally it would be a stable team for at least a bit, but it's just one of those things, of course, these closes uniquely hard. It's uniquely hard to do because it's, like, both a content tournament and at the same time, it's, the apex of competition, right? Like, this is the tournament, this is the invitational tournament, like, you are up against, like, the lowest seed is somebody that, you would, like, in a normal bracket encounter at, like, seed, like, I don't know, like, you definitely encounter them at a higher seed, so, like, seed 8, 10, sort of a thing, and that person is seed 16. Like, that density of skill is definitely present, and we definitely saw that with those, like, later matches, like, normally it's like, okay, you sleep on the first couple of rounds because there's nothing happening, and, it's like, then it starts to get, like, intense at the semifinals, but Corsace Close has always had that effect, I think, where you just have banger matches, like the entire tournament. Like, I remember, like, 2022 especially, I was glued to the screen. I wanted to get up and go do something else, but I couldn't stop watching, because it's banger after banger after banger, man, like.
No, that's fucking sick.
Like, I would say,
That's the thing about OC tournaments, dude. It's just fun to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, you got anything else, Chiv, as far as the picks, or?
Probably not too much for me besides those, because, like, I'm gonna be completely honest, I haven't even looked into all of those picks in depth. Mainly focusing on my projects for own right now, and Corsace Close only finished a while ago, so probably get to it soon. But yeah, off the top of my head, Tyranny was obviously one of my favorite picks as well, and it's already had enough hype, so all good.
Oh yeah, that was probably the best Nomad one I've seen. Like, best custom Nomad one I've seen made, for sure. Like, not even close. Yeah. What about you, Josh? Especially if you recognize any of these, like, infamous maps.
Man, infamous maps.
Yeah.
Looking at grand finals, let's see. I can recognize Hidden 4. That was quite difficult map. It was made a while ago, though, right?
Yeah. Enigma by Atheon. That one, that's an old one. I actually didn't even know this was ranked. Holy crap.
Yeah. I think it was like sitting in the graveyard for a while, and I remember trying it once. I was like, "Wow, this is very hard," especially when it was submitted in 2016.
Atheon is like one of those graved mappers that's just like, he's been around a while, but like always, like, you knew him from the graved maps. It's kind of crazy to see that. Wow.
And then Hard Rock 3, Sakura Trip. That how do people play that Hard Rock?
They were playing that on Hard Rock.
They were playing that on Hard Rock, and probably more in next year. But yeah, also a lot of maps I don't recognize here, but I could definitely see that difficulty being pushed. And I think Corsace in general, like, it's as much of a content tournament as it is like a concept. Like, to map pool for this well, you need to really be flexible and think about what's coming next.
Absolutely.
Definitely agree. So I got a couple more shout outs. So there's actually a map. So the finals. So here's the thing. These Nomad Captain 1. This guy knows how to beam in a really good way, because this is the second time that he's actually referenced we've had some references with the Captain alt maps. So the 2023 alt map actually references a map that you are going to see in Open 2023. So if you got your mapping goggles on and can tell, like, see pattern similarities and all of that, check out the Open 2023 pools as they come out, and you'll see the map that Captain referenced there. And this is actually the second one where actually when we collab with the /VTuber map, so I actually referenced one of Captain's maps that he made for Open later that year. So here we are referencing alt maps that haven't been released yet. So lots of fun there. The other thing is, so you know, whenever I think the description for Corsace Close 2022 Hidden 2, which was like Grand Finals Hidden 2, the Dada Grid Night map, he said something in the description was like, I saw this in a dream. And that is essentially what comes to mind when I think about Finals Hard Rock 4. So Impure Pug, now named Rasona, essentially had this idea in his head of a map he wanted to make from when he was like a player. He's like, it would be really funny if I made this map. And so he decided, all right, I'm gonna be not serious for like one map, and I'm just gonna go and do the thing I thought of like 5 years ago. So that was Finals Hard Rock 4, very unique map. He's probably very ashamed of it, but it's really funny. You should definitely give that a play, check it out, etc. I think in general, like, if you didn't see the a map that people didn't really look at too much was the Grand Finals Nomad 6. That map is very interesting if you like the reading maps. I will say that, like, it's top tier in that regard. So give that a play. All right, I think that's all we got. So yeah, you know, Corsace closed. It started as, like, you know, we're gonna raise the skill cap. I forgot to mention this earlier, but it's very analogous to you know, what Spork Cup was doing. If any of you guys are old enough to remember that, it's like back in the old days, like, it's like everyone of the top end pools were going to like 7.2, 7.3, and then Spork Lover makes a tournament that you have 8-star Nomad 1s and stuff, like in 2017, 2018. Definitely some subconscious influence that led to 2021, in my opinion. So, but yeah, otherwise, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, and Corsace Close, you know, it's always going to be one of my, I think that's one of my favorite tournaments to watch, for sure. And it's not just because I work on it. Like, honestly, most years I've preferred watching Close to Open. Most years, so.
Yeah, no, that's all I have to say as well. Honestly, I'm excited to see how the next one unfolds, as well as Corsace Open now, which is just getting underway.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be cool. Also, good announcement here. So something that helped all of us, you know, reference what the pools were and all of that is basically, if you've seen the front or you've seen the Twitter, you've seen us like send out this Corsace Open Master Map Pool sheet. We now have a closed equivalent, and it's sitting in hash front in the Corsace Discord server. So we'll actually also link that in the description so that some of you guys who may be interested in what the pools are and maybe correlate some of the slots that we may have said to some of the maps, you guys can check that out. So we have that all compiled so everyone can bask in these crazy maps. So, but yeah, no, I think that's it. Any last words, Shiv, Josh?
That's all I got. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good luck.
All right. Yep. Thanks, everyone. See you guys next episode of Full Circle.
Awesome. Thanks.